This week, my friends, we're hunting Marco Polo and ibex in Russia. The furthest thing from my mind when I was a 6-year-old kid in Bassett, Pennsylvania, listening to my teacher scream to the top of her lungs, "The Russians are coming, the Russians are coming." And we would run down in the boiler room, feared for our lives. And to think now, as a young man, I walk down through the streets of Moscow, hunting the Marco Polo and ibex, that's exactly where we're going this week. What an adventure, folks. Don't go away.
Bass Pro Shops and Alamositos Ranch present Bob Volkrod's Hunting Adventures. Seven continents, 80 species, a 5-year quest in the making. High adventure, dangerous game, real-world training tips. This is Bob Volkrod's Hunting Adventures.
We journey with Bob Volkrod to the remote vastness of Eastern Asia, a place that is rarely visited by Westerners, and a place where some of the most legendary big game hunting of all can still be found.
He'll stop. Here in Missoula, Montana is the headquarters of what they call the Boone and Crockett Club, established over 100 years ago by Theodore Roosevelt for conserving wildlife and big game hunting all across the United States. That's what inspired me to start what I call the Obsession Quest, which is a 5-year program to take me to some of the wildest places all over the world.
This time, Bob's obsession quest will take him to far-off Kyrgyzstan in search of Marco Polo sheep and ibex. Once part of the old Soviet Union and now an independent country, Kyrgyzstan is perched on the edge of what some call the roof of the world between Russia and China. Like the old mother country Russia, Kyrgyzstan is a land steeped in the history of great explorations, conquests, and empires. Interpreter Artem Nuhalov shares some of his knowledge of the rich history, culture, and landscape of the country.
Kyrgyzstan is a small country. It's about the size of South Dakota, inhabited by 5 million people. More than 90% of the country is mountains, 40% over an elevation of 10,000 feet. It's inhabited by mostly nomads. It started centuries ago when Genghis Khan's army crossed it and destroyed most of the settled cities, and people had to go to nomadic way of life. So Kyrgyz people are tough, and they used to live in the mountains, and they spend much time on horses, and for this reason they are perfect hunters.
Getting here is an adventure all by itself. You're halfway around the world. Got off in Moscow, and we had an interpreter right there to meet us and check our baggage through. And so we spent, a couple days in Moscow and looked around and went to Red Square and drove down the city streets.
But Moscow was just the first leg of the long journey, and it was soon time to head on to Bishkek, the bustling capital city of Kyrgyzstan.
Bishkek is situated in the north of the country in the largest valley, flat territory in the country.
So we spent a couple days in Bishkek, we're driving around, we're looking at everything. And we walked through I guess it was like a supermarket, This whole room is just full of meat. Just about any kind of meat in here you want, in any size. And really makes you appreciate home, makes you appreciate the supermarkets and being able to go over there, get a little cart and buy things. And I mean, you feel so blessed that we live where we live.
With a 4 a.m. departure from Bishkek, the comforts of civilization were left behind, and the journey into the wild country began.
I bet you don't think you can get 8 people in there, do you?
On the way to the camp, we cover about 700 kilometers. Half of it is on the paved road, still not the best quality, but paved road, and drive over the mountains. And that takes the most of the time. Because on the way, sometimes you can hardly say that the road exists there. If you look at the map, it's not marked on the map.
And the ride in here, you look down, oh, don't look down, guys. Don't look down. You feel like that vehicle is going to slide off, and you know if it tumbles, you're going to meet your maker real quick.
On the way, you have to cross river a few times. It gets worse in November, December, because there's some ice on the river, and you have to break through the ice. Sometimes you get stuck in it, and use a shovel or sometimes a rifle to shoot at the ice to break it. I know sometimes it could look unusual and for this reason scary, but in some places the ice gets so hard you cannot break it by anything, or it will take you days to break it. So the most simple method is to take a shot at this piece of the ice.
We get to camp after a 23-hour drive. Like I say, just getting here was an adventure all by itself.
Bob Folkrod's hunting gear includes a Browning A-bolt in 300 short mag, Winchester 180 grain Nosler ballistic tip bullets, Swarovski optics, Redhead clothing and backpacks, as well as a Redhead Expedition dome tent.